Okay, let's unpack this because, wow, talk about a Monday that just like completely upended the sports news cycle.
Right. Just threw everything for a loop.
We're talking Aaron Rodgers here, famously quite a private person,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow he manages to drop two absolutely massive pieces of news almost, well, basically at the same time.
Yeah, it was really something. First, the huge career move, joining the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And then, almost as a side note, reveals he got married.
It really was a 1-2 punch, especially the timing, right? This all comes out right after his first practice with the Steelers.
Exactly. You expect, I don't know, the usual stuff. Comments about the playbook, fitting in, how the conditioning felt.
Standard sound bites, yeah.
Not, fundamentally changing his entire professional address and announcing a marriage.
It felt like reading two completely different headlines smashed together.
Totally. So we're diving deep into this. We've got a bunch of articles covering this. Very surprising announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And our mission today is basically to pull out the key stuff from these sources, the details, the context behind these big decisions, and how people are reacting already.
Right. It's about getting you quickly up to speed on these, well, pretty unexpected turns for such a high-profile guy.
Okay, so based on what the articles are saying, let's tackle the career move first. That seemed to be the initial, banner headline.
Yeah, it makes sense after months of speculation, really, and coming off that brutal injury year.
Right, with the Jets. So he's officially signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What are the key details the sources gave us on the actual deal?
Well, according to the reports we looked at, it's a 1-year contract.
Yeah.
Specifically for the 2025 season.
Okay, 1 year, 2025.
And it's valued at $13.6 million.
$13.6 million, got it. And crucially, he's 41.
Yeah, that's a big part of the story. Makes him the oldest quarterback in the league going into that season.
Well, it feels like more than just a signing, doesn't it? It feels like a statement.
For fun.
From him, from the Steelers. Like he feels he still has something left.
Something left to prove? Maybe. Or just something left to do.
Right, and the sources definitely highlight that he was asked about his motivation. Why keep playing at 41, especially after that Achilles injury that basically wiped out his whole Jets season almost instantly?
Yeah, a really tough year.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. It maybe gives us a window into his headspace.
What did he say?
He said that continuing to play was, quote, best for my soul.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he specifically contrasted that with ego.
Yeah.
Said he doesn't need football for his ego anymore. He reflected that decisions he'd made based on ego, even if they looked successful on the outside, they weren't fulfilling personally.
But decisions from the soul, those are fulfilling.
Exactly. That's a pretty powerful, almost philosophical way to frame signing with a new football team.
It really is. It suggests this drive. It's maybe beyond just chasing another Super Bowl ring or, padding the stats.
Well, now he's got plenty of those already, right? 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion.
For sure. But what the sources seem to capture is him framing this as, a more internal thing now, a personal pursuit.
And speaking of personal pursuits, let's pivot to the other bombshell, the one that dropped right alongside the signing news.
The marriage.
He got married. And this wasn't some leak or anonymous source. He revealed it himself. Tuesday, after that first Steelers practice.
Yeah, the confirmation came apparently after the team shared a photo and people spotted a ring on his left hand.
Ah, okay, so the internet detectives were on it.
Seems like it. And then a reporter just asked him directly about it, and he confirmed, said, yeah, it's a wedding ring. And then added he got married a couple months ago.
A couple months ago. So this wasn't like a spur-of-the-moment thing tied to the signing. This was already done, quietly, off-season.
Exactly. And he chose this moment, right after practice, to reveal it.
And the sources, they do point out the mystery around who his wife is, right? They don't name her.
No, they don't. Though one article did recall that he'd mentioned dating someone named Brittany on the show last fall.
Okay, so that's maybe the only clue out there, Brittany. But beyond that, just the fact that he's now married.
And for him, he's always been so private about his relationships, hasn't he?
Notoriously so. Despite, the sources mentioning those past high-profile ones, Danica Patrick, Olivia Munn, Shailene Woodley.
Right. So for him to choose to reveal this now, even without giving a name,
Yeah.
doing it right as he makes this massive career shift, it feels significant.
It really does. It makes you wonder about the connection, if any, between these two huge life events happening, or at least being announced together.
The timing is just fascinating. And thinking about the context of this career move, Pittsburgh, a team with such a legendary history.
But one that's also in a bit of a A significant drought, right? 16 years since they won a Super Bowl.
And 14 years since they were even in the Super Bowl.
And here's the twist the sources highlight.
Oh, yeah, the irony.
Their last Super Bowl appearance, that loss 14 years ago, who was it against?
Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Back in 2011.
So now he joins the very team he beat on that biggest stage, potentially aiming to be the guy who finally ends their drought.
Talk about adding layers to the story. It's almost too perfect.
So, okay, beyond the best for my soul motivation, did the sources give any specific reasons for why Pittsburgh, why the Steelers?
He pointed directly to conversations with head coach Mike Tomlin.
Ah, Tomlin, okay.
Yeah, he apparently called their talks some of the coolest conversations I had in the game and explicitly said Tomlin is a big reason of why I'm here.
So that relationship, that connection with the head coach, that seems absolutely central based on the sources.
Definitely sounds like it was a major factor in his decision.
And he's joining some interesting new teammates, too. The sources mentioned DK Metcalf, the wide receiver.
Right, who also just joined the Steelers this offseason. Big move for them, too.
And apparently, there were even videos, according to the reports, showing Rodgers and Metcalf working out together back in California before Rodgers officially signed.
Oh, interesting. So maybe a connection was already building there, some groundwork being laid?
Could be. Sets up a potentially really dynamic offensive pairing, doesn't it? If they can, build that chemistry quickly.
Absolutely. But the articles do point out this move hasn't exactly been met with, universal applause, even from within the Steelers family, so to speak.
You were talking about Terry Bradshaw, right? The Steelers legend.
Yeah. The sources specifically noted Bradshaw was pretty vocal against the idea of Rodgers coming to Pittsburgh. Said he didn't want the former Packers and Jets QB anywhere near the team.
Wow. That's blunt.
Yeah. A clear dissenting opinion from a franchise icon. Maybe highlight some of the, complicated feelings about bringing in an older, outside veteran QB like that.
Sure. But, okay, beyond the internal reactions, his move immediately sparked a reaction from a major rival. And a pretty colorful one at that.
Oh, you got to mean Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns.
Yep. When Garrett was asked about Rodgers joining the AFC North, his response was, well, the sources quoted it directly. He said, "What do I think about it? I think it's a good opportunity to put him in the graveyard."
Okay. Welcome to the division.
Right. But the articles did a good job giving the context there, because that's a very specific Myles Garrett thing.
The graveyard decorations, yeah.
He's famous for his Halloween yard display, where he puts up fake tombstones for every quarterback he sacks during the season.
He even wore that Grim Reaper costume once with all the QB names on the back. Remember that?
I do. So this graveyard comment, it's his unique kind of theatrical, competitive way of saying, I'm coming for you, marking his target.
It's certainly memorable. A bit intense, maybe, but memorable.
And the sources even laid out when we might see that matchup happen. Browns travel to Pittsburgh in Week 6.
And then Cleveland hosts the Steelers later on, Week 17.
So the stage is definitely set for the personal side, the professional side, the rivalries. It's all intertwined now.
Absolutely is.
Okay, let's maybe quickly summarize the key takeaways we pulled from the sources here.
Sound good.
All right, so the big move to the Steelers, that's a one-year, $13.6 million deal for 2025.
His age, 41, making him the oldest QB in the league.
His stated motivation, doing what's best for my soul, not his ego.
The surprise reveal of his marriage right after that first practice.
And the mystery around his wife's source, won't name her, just that previous mention of Brittany.
The context of the Steelers' Super Bowl drought, 16 years. And the irony that he beat them in their last appearance.
Right. The specific reason he cited for choosing Pittsburgh, those cool conversations with Coach Tomlin.
Joining new teammates like DK Metcalf with hints they were connecting beforehand.
The dissenting voice from Steelers legend Terry Bradshaw not wanting him there.
And that very colorful welcome from rival Myles Garrett about putting him in the graveyard tied to his sack celebrations.
It's definitely a lot of change, a lot of narrative packed into just one news cycle.
For sure.
And as you think about all this, maybe consider the big transitions in your own life or career. How do people navigate those kinds of major shifts, especially under a microscope like this?
Yeah, and what does it really mean to make a decision that's best for your soul, like Rodgers said, versus one maybe driven more by, external pressures or ego?
Exactly. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, kind of a provocative one.
Okay.
You have Rodgers talking about playing for his soul at this late stage in his career. And almost in the same breath, you have a top rival like Myles Garrett welcoming him by framing him as a target for his sack graveyard.
That contrast is pretty stark, yeah.
So, what does this specific moment, this juxtaposition, tell us about that mix? That blend, sometimes clashing, of seeking deep personal fulfillment while also operating in the world of fierce, intense, very public competition, whether it's in sports or really any public facing part of life.